and welcome to our next installment of the intro videos for sociology. This video is going to explore how to be prepared for college and how to succeed in our course. So let me just move my little face away, and we're going to be looking predominantly at this PowerPoint. So college preparation and how to succeed in our class. So being prepared, the first thing to do is eat. Make sure you eat breakfast. Eat before you come to class. If you do not have carbohydrates, your mind is not going to work well. Your brain works on carbohydrates, so please make sure that you have eaten and bring a drink with you. Hydration is very important. Make sure you have a writing utensil. I know that all these things may sound very common sense, but it's always important to have a refresher, as well as some of these things and some of these ideas might be new to you. Cool? So just hang with me and let's explore the next couple ideas together. Make sure to have your notebook open and ready, either in face-to-face courses or online. Make sure to do the reading before class so that you have all of your notes, you have all of the material, you're primed to learn, and you now are just reinforcing these ideas. So make sure to have your notes from the text with you, and then also to have read the text prior to class. So if you are in a face-to-face class, when the lecturer asks you a question, be prepared to answer it. If I ask you a question on an online class, make sure to write it down so that you are able to answer it fully, or jot down some ideas. If you are with me in an online class, there will be discussion box areas that you are going to respond to these questions that I pose to you. If you are at home or if you are in face-to-face or hybrid, make sure that you are able to have space to walk around, to move around the classroom, to move around your online space at home, that you have the ability and that you have it cognitively prepared, that you are able and willing to move yourself around. Make sure that if you are in a face-to-face class, you are making eye contact with the professor the best that you can. Cool. It is important to identify listening cues, which means nodding your head or making eye contact, being very present and focused. Next, ask questions. Jot down questions if you are online. If you are in face-to-face, jot down questions and then make sure to answer them, because if you have a question, guaranteed someone else is going to have that same question. If it is an online class, there are places in the discussion boards for you to ask your other classmates in the peer help forum, or you can ask me, or you can pose discussion questions in regards to the different themes or topics we are discussing. So if you are in a face-to-face class, the same if you are online. I know it is very easy to put our online discussion videos on and just kind of space off. Stay engaged. So that goes back to these earlier cues or ideas, which is walk around, get a drink of water, have a snack with you. Make sure you stay engaged. So, how to take notes. This is not only in class, but it is for your textbook as well. We will explore 3 different methods, but there are lots of different methods that you can Google or you can watch some YouTube videos on. The first is the Cornell method, which is predominantly used in K-12 schools for the last 5 to 10 years, so a lot of us might be very familiar with this particular style. The Cornell method is a systematic format of condensing and organizing information without recopying. So the method is to mark your paper about 2.5 inches from the margin on the left and then leaving the 6-inch area on the right, which is to make notes. So then take down information on the 6-inch area and then skip a few lines in between these topics or ideas that I will pose. After listening to my lecture, take a few minutes to synthesize the information that I just said. So this is a way for your brain to make neural pathways for you to remember and to really put it into your own ideas. Great. So the advantages of this method is that it is very organized, it's very systematic, it is easy for pulling out major concepts and ideas. It saves time, it's very simple and efficient, and it's kind of do it right in the first place. So you're going to make the notes once, and then those are the notes that you're going to study. Our next method is the outlining method, which most of us tend to use. This is the one that I kind of half and half use, but this is one of them that I use predominantly. This is where you dash or indent. So basically you are creating a structured organization of topics, the main topics being furthest to the left, and then they indent or move more to the right as the topics or ideas become more specific. So it's basically identifying larger themes or larger ideas and then becoming more and more specific. So the advantages is also very well organized if done right. They organize content as well as relationships, and then they reduce editing, so which is good. This is another method that I tend to employ a lot because I tend to think very linearly, but sometimes when I'm thinking about abstract concepts or things that I'm not 100% sure how they work, I map it out or draw it out. So the mapping method is used to create comprehension and concentration skills. This is really helpful if you tend to kind of zone out or space off when listening to lectures. If you were to draw it out, draw symbols, draw shapes, draw colors, whatever you need to do to try to start to organize some of this information. So it's like a graphic representation. So this helps you to visually track your lectures regardless of the conditions. You don't necessarily have to put a lot of executive functioning into this particular style. You can really have it very free, very open style of taking notes, and then you just synthesize that information later. This is an example of the mapping method where you have an overarching idea and then you start to create subsections. Again, with concept mapping and the mapping method, you can use shapes and symbols and colors and all sorts of things that will help you to visually comprehend the information. All right, next is how to read a textbook, which is incredibly important and something I didn't actually learn until I was in grad school. So let's talk about how to read a textbook. First, go to the questions at the end of the chapter. Those are going to prime you to understand what are the really important information that we need to get out of this particular section of the text. So read them, answer them to the best of your ability, and then begin your actual reading strategies. This will prime the engine, right? So read the questions and then try to answer them without any prior knowledge. This will already get your brain thinking about the various ways that you could possibly answer, and if you think about psychology and the Gestalt method, you can start to utilize some of those frameworks to answer some of these questions and allow you to be able to have a really strong foundation to build onto these. Next, you'll read the final summary of the chapter. This will give you general background as the big ideas of the chapter. So the summary of the chapter is just that. It's a summary of all of the information that we just went over. So first you have the questions that the author wants you to get out of the text, and then you have the summary. So then next is going to look at the headings and subheadings of the chapter. So then you're going to go back to the beginning of the chapter and you're going to scroll through all of the different major headings and then subheadings. So this is going to help your mind start to understand the organization of the text, as well as to start to begin to synthesize some of how the text is constructed and how these ideas fit together. Next, read the chapter introduction. So all of this is if you think of building with Legos. You want to make sure to get the foundation really strong so that as you build up, it's easy to scaffold in. So don't read the text front to back, read it backwards, right? So start with the questions and then go to the summary and then start with the beginning of the chapter. Look for big ideas, look for key details. Read the book once, but study your notes multiple times. So you really want to make sure that you take really good notes of the text. That way, when you are studying and when you're listening to my lectures, you already have all this basic information, and then we're just going to continue to enhance and expand on these ideas. This is how to take notes from your text, right? So we are using the PQRST method. For every hour of study, it should be divided into the following time periods. Preview. Scan the chapter, noticing italicized and bold-faced type, introductory and concluding sentences. So once we have already gotten the end of the chapter questions, the summary, the headings and subheadings, and the introduction, when we say read the chapter, this is what you're going to do. So you're going to scan through that section, and you're going to look for things that are italicized, things that are bold, key terms, and then you're going to write out what appear to be key questions covered in this chapter and answer them based on what you already know about the subject. It is really important and should take no more than 5 minutes. So scan through, read about the key terms, the italicized, the bold terms, and think about what some questions might be. Next, read the chapter carefully and critically. Either underline and make notes in the text or jot down an outline in your notebook. So again, going back to either the mapping method, the outline method, the Cornell method. Next is going to study, which is fill in your outline and mentally review the important concepts by comparing your answers in the text. This should be 20 minutes. Fill in your outline and mentally review the important concepts by comparing your answers to the text. Again, 20 minutes. So it's basically the same thing, just a bit of a typo. Now, this last 10 minutes of the hour is the test. Shut your books, shut your notes, and then repeat as precisely as you can all that you can remember without your notes. Important points should be given almost verbatim. So when I'm talking about key terms, especially within our texts and our tests, you will need to know the definitions verbatim, which means word for word. Cool? So this is about an hour. Every hour you should take about a 10-minute break, which means go for a walk, close your eyes for 10 minutes, meditate, draw, grab a snack, do something to let your mind process this information. So when you are studying and thinking about how to remember all this important information for college, think about dividing your time within these organizational skills. Okay, so we're gonna go back to me.